Thank you. We have a clicker. So the first question you're probably asking is, why is an old guy up here talking to you about the internet? Why isn't there some 20-year-old kid talking to you about it? And you know, here's the reason. You have to stay relevant, guys. You guys have to have at least a 30,000 level, executive level of understanding what's going on, so that when the 20-year-old kid runs into your office and says, we need to spend $10,000 updating my Facebook page, you can go, hang on a second, we got to have this fit in. So number one, you got to stay relevant. You know, number two, almost all of the executives that I work with are business owners or general managers, because there's a lot of money to be spent here. And so really at the end of the day, the buck does stop with you guys. So you have to understand at least enough about this so that you can authorize the spend. And hold your team accountable, whether you're working with outside vendors, whether you're working with SEO people, whether you're working with search engine marketing folks. You've got to have the tools, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the reporting that you can use to hold your team accountable. So you don't have to necessarily know all the pieces, but you have to understand enough about it to be able to do that. So a couple quick questions. How many people here are paying someone? I know last year some of you were here, you all ran out, you went out, you hired people to do all this. How many people are paying someone to optimize or do search engine optimization to your website? Clever music, please. Okay, good. So most of you have crossed that barrier and are either doing it in-house or you're paying someone, so that's fantastic. Okay, next question. How many dealers are doing any sort of paid per click, paid search, AdWords, banner ads, retargeting, pixel targeting, content targeting, mobile, any of that kind of stuff? Okay, so most of you have at least, or 50%, roughly half the room at least, has crossed that threshold and is beginning to actually spend or is spending money every month. So hopefully this will be relevant for you to better spend your money and look at some of the new areas that we're going to be covering. Have to push the button now. Okay, so last question, Google Places page. Do you know what it is? Do you know if it's set up correctly, or do you even know what I'm talking about? Okay, so a mixed bag on that. So I'll make sure to spend a little bit of time talking about Google Places. Earlier this year, there was a radical, late last year into earlier this year, there was a dramatic shift on the Google Places page. Next slide, please. Okay. My little button not working. Okay, winning on the web. So here's our agenda for today. Challenges in construction equipment marketing. ZMOT, Zero Moment of Truth, what is it, and trends. 3 strategies to win it, Zero Moment of Truth, and case studies. I did have an opportunity to sit with representatives of Google here about 3 weeks ago, and so a lot of what you see in this presentation is actually based on what Google shared with me. They did grant me access to utilize their presentation. And obviously that's great for you guys to sort of hear it out of the horse's mouth via myself, but to know that this is really, a lot of this is Google's initiative, so you need to understand what's going on. So what's the environment out there right now? Well, shoppers are comparing more than ever. I don't have data specific to the construction industry, it's too small of a segment, but car shoppers, 18.2 information sources are used by car shoppers now, and even more from the 18 to 34-year-olds. They are looking at 25.6 sources of information prior to buying a car. The other thing is that 24% of shoppers are switching manufacturers based on their research. So the days of let me introduce you to a product and you'll be loyal to it for the rest of your life, we're done. So the fact that they bought from you doesn't mean they're going to continue to do that. So while the marketing remains fragmented, the shopping patterns are really the thing that has changed. So I spoke last time I was here a little bit about the zero moment of truth. For those of you who were here last year, I'm going to review it quickly for those of you who weren't here. But basically the model used to be that there was a stimulus, a radio ad, a TV ad, a presentation, and then you have the consumer. This was the Procter & Gamble model. The consumer had their first moment of truth. They heard about Bounty product softener. They went to the store. They picked it off the shelf. They took it home. They had a wonderful experience with it. That was their second moment of truth. Their third moment of truth was when they talked to someone and said, wow, Bounty really does make my clothes cleaner. But that model is different now. Rather than just having a stimulus, we now have something called the first moment of truth. And today the shopping model looks like this. You have the stimulus, you have the zero moment of truth, which is somebody pulling out their cell phone, jumping on their tablet, researching. How many of you pulled out your cell phone to make a purchase in the last week? How many of you were standing at a grocery store? I was buying shoes for my kid. Instantly, I went to the phone. Are these shoes any better than others? How many people pull out your phone to make a first moment of truth decision? So here's what Google has to say, assuming the video will play.
Buying behavior has changed. In almost every category, consumers have many more choices than they've ever had before.
We used to have a website and felt like we were present. Now it's so important to create platforms where you can engage your consumers and exchange information.
In today's marketplace, you have to be out there on the internet. You have to be out there in social media.
Our job, if we're going to get closer to our customers, to be there when they're looking for things about our company.
The process of meeting those shopper needs begins at the zero moment of truth.
Have you been in a store and seen a buyer with a smartphone taking a picture of a product to learn more about that product, to read a rating or a review while standing in the aisle? These are all zero moments of truth.
The consumers going in every day and typing into browsers, they're actually actively sharing with you.
As we've connected people at the zero moment of truth, we are seeing people sign up and want to know more and be part of movements and communities.
It applies in a consumer and in a business-to-business context.
If we hadn't embraced ZMod, we would not exist today as a business.
Zero moment of truth defines not only what the shopper is doing, but the future of marketing. Ask yourself, who on my team has as his or her primary job helping us win the zero moment of truth?
So that's an explanation of the little video from Google there. So given all this change, how do you stand out? Well, let's talk about the new ways consumers are shopping today. And for those of you that were here last year where most of my talk was on search engine marketing and website optimization, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that this time because there are some new things to talk about. Shopping starts and ends online. Devices are proliferating exponentially, and it's not just about search anymore. So shopping starts and ends online. 90% of car buyers start their research online. I'm going to guess that in your industry that a lot of online research is also taking place. Today's shopper picks their dealership or business online. 50% are utilizing the internet as opposed to 7% from the newspaper. So again, that's probably obvious at this point. Devices are proliferating exponentially. So let's talk about tablets and mobile and the impact that they've had on how your customers are shopping today. It took 38 years for radio to reach 50,000 users. It took TV 14 years, 13 years. It's taken tablets about a year. So tablets are huge. They're here to stay. The tablets and the iPhones are where the action is. shoppers are on mobile. If you do not have a mobile strategy implemented for your business, that's what we need to talk about. 25% of auto shoppers are using their mobile device throughout the auto shopping process. I'm going to guess that 25% of just about all shoppers are using their mobile phones. So making mobile a necessary complement. If you look at personal computers and the use of personal computers, look at what's happening with mobile devices. It's actually overtaking during the times of the day. How many of you go home at night, you're watching TV maybe, you also have your tablet open, your kid's sitting there on their computer, you're using your cell phone. Definitely is here and is a big piece of the pie. In fact, by 2013, 21% of all online searches will be mobile. Here's the tools that shoppers use. This is again from the automotive category. Search engines, of course, 51%, you knew that. Manufacturer websites, 50%, you knew that. Third-party websites, review websites, individual websites, those all are that referral network of third-party referring sites, as well as then you get into video, social networking, and online reviews, which we'll talk about later. So actions taken as a result of mobile. What's interesting about mobile is not just that it's 21% of the market, but it's a very powerful 21% of the market. It actually results in more actions than the use of a desktop computer. So you have 61% of the people calling and 59% of the people visiting as a direct result of using mobile. So what I'm pointing out here is where mobile is on the decision process. 77% contacted a business as a direct result of using only a mobile device. And 88% took action that day. Mobile is that fabled last mile of the communication link. We used to hear about cable. We used to hear about, the last mile being that little channel between the TV company or the cable company or the phone company, that last mile to your front door. Mobile is now the new last mile in terms of a consumer's decision. So this is some stats on, again, from Google on mobile phone and tablet use. In terms of what they're doing. Interesting that tablets only 8%. I suspect that's going to grow with the continued proliferation of tablets. So you have 27% use this source at the very end of my research on a mobile phone. Somebody's whipping out a mobile phone to find an address. Somebody's whipping out a mobile phone to find a phone number. Somebody's standing in front of the automobile using their mobile phone to see if they can get a better price at the dealership down the street. They're using it at the very end of the research, and that's huge for what mobile can do for you. If you're talking about mobile influencing 30% of a consumer's decision, that's a big number. It all works together. Really, the theme of this presentation is that you're going to see that all of this stuff is integrated together. This is an example of Acura running a Super Bowl ad. What happened after they ran the Super Bowl ad? They saw a 200% increase in search queries on desktop, a 970% increase in search query on tablets, and a 2,700% increase using the smartphone. People literally were picking up their smartphone. They wanted to view the Super Bowl ad again. They wanted to get information about the offer. They wanted to find out who the local dealer was in their area. They wanted to basically respond very quickly. So choosing to ignore mobile is like arbitrarily choosing to not do business on a Saturday. If you're talking 20% of the market that you can go out and capture that your competitor is not aware of, that's huge. And I know we had a talk today about just how difficult it's going to be to compete. This is where Google is going. This is the initiative that they're pushing. This is their vision. And you need to jump on this, because if you don't jump on the mobile bandwagon, your competitors will, and you'll be going the other way. So then the question becomes, how do we do that? You don't necessarily have to spend more money. You're already probably investing. I know I talked to these folks over the table. They're spending $500 a month on SEO, which is about what it should be, a couple $1,000s a month on search words. I mean, you're still going to stay somewhere in that budget. You need to specify, you need to work smarter, and you need to reallocate your dollars so that you make sure that mobile is getting included in whatever optimization or ad spend that you are conducting for your business, or making sure that the team that you have in place understands this and that you're asking them the right questions. How many of you have a mobile site for your business? Show of hands. Okay? How many of you have no idea what I'm talking about? Okay. So a mobile site for your business is very different. It is not the same as you picking up your smartphone and typing in the web address of your own dealership's website. There should be a mobile-enabled site that will come up that will look something like one of these. It has much less data on it. It's not an itty-bitty, teeny-tiny site that you have to scroll up and try to find. It's going to contain just a few relevant things. It's going to have something ideally called click-to-call. I want to find XYZ dealership. I can pull it up mobily. My smartphone is smart enough that it'll know it's a mobile site. They do that automatically. I can find out a couple relevant things. I want to know directions. I want to know hours. I want to click to call. There's also an opportunity to advertise on mobile sites. Mobile real estate is more expensive because there's only one or two searches returned, but you actually can buy your competitor's name so that when someone searches for the dealership next door or across town, your mobile ad will show up right there, and you'll have an opportunity to compete for that business. So here's another example. This happens to be an example from Volvo. You can see that they're including a video. More and more now, videos can be done mobily as well. So what happens when you make sure that you do nothing else today, go home and ask your internet team, do we have a mobile site, and if not, why? There are actually a lot of, your SEO provider should actually create one for you. If they do not, there are actually a number of services that at little or no cost can create and optimize a mobile site for you. So what do you expect from a mobile site? You're going to see 3.9% click-through rate, 240% increase in brand favorability, 88% increase in purchase intent, we talked about that, 78% increase in recommendation intent, average 1-minute engagement per user, 360-degree view, had highest traffic, placements are standard, and tracking is available. So there's a lot of things that you can get from a mobile site. Okay, so ZMOT trend number 3. Shoppers are doing much more than searching. So last year when we visited and we had some time together, we talked quite a bit about some of the things on the right-hand side, stage right-hand side, organic search, search engine marketing, and retargeting. It sounds like quite a few of you in the room are doing some level of these things. What else is going on? We're going to talk about pixel contextual targeting. We're going to talk about topic targeting, placement targeting. Again, not to get too technical, but just to at least have you understand what these things are so that you can be tasking your team and asking questions and moving forward in some of these areas. So search engine marketing, we can review. Almost every purchase starts with a search engine. 89% of traffic generated by search ads is not replaced by organic search. There have been study after study done. Should I buy paid search? Should I optimize my website organically? The answer is you should do both. And one actually does not replace the other. That was kind of a thing that a year ago when we got together, some of the data was still coming out on that. Searchers are more engaged on websites than other traffic forms. And as I said, organic and paid search both matter. So if you can, you should be implementing both an organic program and a paid search program. So 5% of time is spent in search. What's the other 95% of the time spent on? If you think about your own internet habits, your own viewing habits. What are you doing on the internet? You're searching 5% of the time. Yes, it's very powerful, but it's only 5%. Content, you're reading articles, you're researching. If you're in the market for a piece of equipment, you're probably going to be reading articles. You're probably going to be looking at reviews of that dealership. You're going to be watching how-to videos. You're going to be emailing the dealership to say, I'm interested potentially in buying this. Please send me some information. You're going to be doing some e-commerce, and you're going to be doing search. So the idea is to get you away from just thinking that search is all you need to focus on, because there's many, many other areas now that you can reach out and talk to customers. So search is more powerful when combined with display. Again, these are Google stats right out of their Google study. More than half of internet users actively respond to online display advertising. Now, their measure of actively respond might be that they note it. It might be that they're clicking it to make it go away. I get that. But they are responding in the same way that you're going to TiVo off of a TV commercial, or you're going to change the station when a radio ad comes, or you're going to turn the page after you look at a newspaper ad. You're seeing it, it's being noted, and you're doing something. 4 in 10 users who do respond to display ads are learning about a brand for the first time. That is an amazing statistic for those of us in the over 30, over 40, over 50 crowd to imagine that 4 in 10 people, this is their first moment of truth with a new product. They're not watching TV, they're not listening to the radio, they're not reading, they're learning about it online for the first time. 4 in 10 users eventually perform a search and then visit. So 4 in 10 are interested in the product, they're learning about the product for the first time, and they are taking some sort of action to move forward. So pay-per-click advertising, again, some of the folks in the room are doing this. Congratulations. I hope you're doing it well, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Pay-per-click advertising typically has been synonymous with the term keywords, AdWords. Pay-per-click advertising is more than just AdWords. Pay-per-click advertising can be the banner ads, it can be video ads, it can be content targeting. Anything that you're paying for and you're paying by the click for a response is pay-per-click advertising. It's not just the AdWords campaign. So pay-per-click,